Laxasia is packed with incredible weapons, blades, handles, the whole mix and match your build system. But today I decided to ignore all of it. No swords, no spears, no fancy boss weapons, just the Legion arm. This little side tool that most players forget even exists, the thing meant for support, not full combat, is now my only source of damage. Just one question, can you beat the entire game using only a Legion arm? So this is my story of how I beat Laxasia without a weapon, using nothing but Legion arms. Laxasia is packed with incredible weapons, blades, handles, the whole mix and match your dream build system, but today I decided to ignore all of it. This little side tool that most players forget even exists, the thing meant for support, not full combat, is now my only source of damage. Just one question, can you beat the entire game using only a Legion arm? So this is my story of how I beat Laxasia using nothing but Legion arms. That's a good one. Before I can even reach the first Stargazer, I'm forced to fight the police puppets, and this fight is pure RNG. Legion arms have limited punches, and every single hit is a dice roll. Sometimes you get a high number, sometimes you get a low number. And then I got this run. I got a 299, a 282, then a 288, and then I punch him at the exact same time he punches me, and for whatever reason, the damage spikes over like 600, and then he's finally down. After that amazing RNG, I can finally level up. Going into this run, I knew that the Parade Master has 4,400 health points, so I was going to need way more damage than I was doing before. But just to be sure, I just went in before I leveled up to see how much damage I did with a perfect run. Even with a perfect run, I only did like half of his health, so I had to go and level up now and get my damage up. All of this farming for the ergo, the material you use to level up, took a long time. Leveling up only capacity, motivity, and technique, because I needed all of those levels just for one more punch and a little bit more damage to take down the Parade Master. And a big thing for this boss is that if you damage him in between his phase transition, he takes a lot of reduced damage, so I didn't do that. And for some bosses, the game really wants you to at least block their attacks, so dodging is going to be pretty hard for some of the bosses. There's another one of the attacks, like the big fury attacks or the big red attacks. You can't dodge them unless you have a special amulet that you get later in the game. So either you run away from it or you let it hit you. And then I charged up my final punch and he was down. And I got a Quartz and a boss ergo from him. Let's go. And I made it to the hotel entrance. I thought about it and then I said, yeah, I'm a human. And then I got in to the hotel. And then I met Sophia. She gave me a pocket watch, teleporter, and turned on Gemini. And the game hilariously tells me that I can level up and dodge, even though those are the two things I've been doing for the past 16 hours. And then I met Polentina, who sold me Legion magazines, which I bought all of them. And then Eugenie gave me a puppet string, which was one of the most useless arms in the whole game, because it's designed to combo into weapon attacks, and since I don't have a weapon, it's basically just a cool looking reminder of what I'm not allowed to use. And then the game hilariously tells me what are Legion arms and that I have them, even though that's the only thing I've been using. So I switched right back to the left arm of Seal and kept moving. Along the way, I got a new chest with a new frame that I can put onto myself that, like, I don't think it does anything for me, but maybe just for the weapons. And then I gave a big high five to this big guy and got a bunch of ergo from him. And then I got a new Stargazer and I found the big guy. I killed him, and then I got a new chest with a new amulet called the Health Amulet, which increases my health a little bit. That was pretty good. The Mad Donkey was also pretty easy, you just had to wait for him to do one of his slow attacks. The red attacks were pretty annoying, couldn't dodge them, so you just waited for him to do one of his slow overhead attacks that he brings down his cutting blade axe. Another time you could do an attack is when he finished his long red attack and he just sat down for a couple seconds. And then I finished him off with my second to last punch and he was done. And then I met P's dad Geppetto. He increased my maximum pulse cells. He gave me a couple more suits. And then a thing that allows me to combine weapons, which I will never use in this run because I don't have any weapons to combine. And then I went in front of the boss arena, got a amulet that increases damages on puppets, and then I met the Scrapted Watchman. This boss has a massive health pool, aggressive patterns, and almost no room for mistakes. Even with the Puppet Destroyer amulet equipped, and a perfect run, I realized that I'm very close to beating him. However, he always survives with a quarter of his health left, so I did what this run has taught me the best, level up, a lot. I came back stronger, with more Legion magazines, but even then, the RNG can be brutal. Multiple attempts ended with the Watchman with a sliver of his health left, surviving purely because of low damage rolls. Eventually, after pushing my level even higher and playing extremely clean, I barely managed to finish him off with my last punch. Sometimes he could actually grab me too, and he could slam me repeatedly onto the ground, but I survived that, and I retaliated by hitting him even more with my left arm of steel. And then I dodged his grab attack, and I finally finished him off with my last punch. And I finally got one of the best arms in the game, the Fulminis, an electric based arm which after a little bit of charging up like the left arm of steel, blasts out a big blast of electricity, and the upgrades for it later just give it more power and longer charge up. I also got some Quartz, the upgrading material for the P-Organ, and access to the P-Organ itself. And then I equipped the Fulminis in my equipment, and I see that the Fulminis has a B in motivity and a B in advance. The P-Organ is basically just an upgrading system for yourself, your weapons, or most importantly, your Legion arm. I upgraded the enhancement of Legion magazines, charge Legion when eliminating enemy, and lower Legion consumption in crisis. And I got 2 more Quartz from Polentina. I met a couple of new guys to try out my electric arm on, and it went really well. It did a bunch of damage. I was actually pretty surprised of it. I quickly shocked the Puppet of the Future out of his life with the Fulminis arm, and I got a Quartz from him. All the Stalker fights are relatively easy because they're not oversized and they're not overly aggressive, so I have plenty of time to charge up my arm and shock them. After he was gone, I inherited his hunting apparel and his mask and the Stalker's Promise, a gesture that Stalkers use. King's Flame Fuoco was my real test of Fulminis, and it was shockingly easy to finish him up. I was surprised that I actually got him on my very first try. It was easy to dodge his attacks and get behind him and shock him, and also fully charged attacks absolutely shredded him. Halfway through the fight, he opens up his furnace belly and lights the whole floor on fire. You can avoid being burned by hiding behind a pillar. Once the fire cleans up, not much else happens that's new. I shock him a couple more times and then I finish him up with one last powerful blow. From him, I got Flamberge. Flamberge is a fire-based flamethrower which props burn and damages over time enemies, which will really help counter the boss's health regeneration. And with the first upgrade, it does a bigger array of fire, and the next upgrade makes it so it can do more damage, and finally the final upgrade makes it so after a couple of seconds a pretty big explosion happens, which stuns the bosses. The next mini boss was also a stalker named Atoned. She was predictable, and if you were to dodge left or right, most of her attacks would miss you, other than the fury attacks. I zapped her with ease and carried on. Then I met Giangio, who gave me a cube and a Whishstone. A Whishstone are different buffs you can put on the cube. You can make it a heal to heal your Spectre, give yourself more stamina, make your Spectre explode, or some other buffs like that for your Spectre. Or you can use it to heal or repower your Legion arm, and that's what I'm going to use it for. Along the way to the next boss, the fallen Archbishop Andreus, I found a new Legion plug that I can exchange for a new Legion arm, and I decided to exchange it for Eagle Eyes. I found another chest in the hallway containing a Legion caliber to add another upgrade to my arm. Closing into Andreus, I met Alidoro, who sold weapons or amulets for boss Ergo, so I exchanged all of my Ergo for all the amulets just in case I needed any of them, and then told him to go to the hotel. Fallen Archbishop Andreus was one of the easiest fights so far. Phase 1 is simple if you learn how to dodge in time, because after every one of his attacks, he generously lingers for a second or two, so I had enough time to burn him. When I was playing the boss, I realized that he is really weak to fire, so it's gonna be much easier with the fire flamethrower. The second phase felt identical to the first phase if you go to his back right when the boss starts. What I noticed was that if you hesitate to attack him for a while, he regenerates his health really fast, so I had to constantly keep pressure on him, hoping that he sooner or later would go down. After he finishes his big laser attack, he stays there doing nothing for 7 seconds, which I used to burn him up. Another one of those attacks would be when he does a big standing fury attack that you have to run away from because you can't dodge it. At the end of his big fury attack, that's when I could hit him. At the end of the fight, he was charging up for his big slam attack. I did get hit, but I also finished him off there. At the end of the boss fight, you could see Simon Malus doing an evil laugh to no one, even though there's no one there. Like, who's he doing it to? I went back to the hotel to see what Alidoro was selling for the boss Ergo. It was an amulet which makes it so there's a chance that my pulse cells might not be actually used. It's good, but not as good as the Legion arm amulets. And then I meet up with the Black Fox and the Red Cat. I agree to team up with them. Right when I take 2 steps, they already call me a dumbass. Inside the Malum District, I got a new Legion caliber which I can upgrade my Legion arm with. The first time I played the game, the Black Rabbits felt invincible because it was a gang fight overwhelmingly difficult. But now, with my main playthrough and the many times I eliminated them with weapons, I learned all their patterns and moves, which I was able to use against them, even on this Legion arm run. The first time I faced against them in this run, I tried it with Eagle Eyes. That didn't go well because Eagle Eyes use a lot of Legion arm every time I shot. In the next rounds, I tried the next arm, Fulminis, and it still didn't go well because I couldn't charge up my arm at all to shock them. So my last choice was Flamberge, and that turned out to be the right choice. In the beginning, it was only the big brother, so I could just dodge his big slam attacks and then burn him after that. Still, when the siblings came, I just had to run around in circles dodging the siblings' attack. Also, if I were to group together the big brother and the other siblings together, both of them would be burning at the same time. When Backstab Bobby, the middle sibling, came, I sadly couldn't backstab him either because I didn't have a weapon, so I just had to burn him with the rest of them. The only thing that was a bit annoying was when the Battle Maniac came out and he could grab me with his puppet string arm, which was kind of ironic because I didn't have one and I couldn't use one, and he would hit me afterwards. Overall, the boss was pretty simple. If you would just avoid the rest of the siblings, you could just hit the big brother, and then sooner or later he would burn and die. At the end, he ran at me, I dodged him, and then I got him in a corner sitting there and I burned him alive. After eliminating the black rabbits, I find a chest of a quartz. Then I head up to the hotel and find a gold coin tree, which I harvest for some gold coin fruit. And then I give it to Giangio for the Whishstone I was talking about before that restores Legion. Then I found another chest and got a Legion plug from it, and this time I didn't really need any more Legion arms right now, so I just exchanged it for Pandemonium. The next mini boss was the White Lady, and because she was a human, I used Flamberge, and that was a good idea because it burned her to a crisp. Then I met the Mad Clown Puppet, and I decided to use Fulminis on him because he was a puppet, and also because I had enough time to charge up and shoot him. It wasn't that difficult, just his fury attacks where he threw his hand at me got me a couple times with that, but after a bit of more shocking, I shocked him to death. Along the way to the King of Puppets, I collected a jeweled cryptic vessel, I gave it to Venigni, and solving it gave me a quartz and a new outfit. For the King of Puppets, I use Fulminis because he's a puppet and electricity absolutely shreds puppets. Also, he barely does any fury attacks, so I could just dodge most of his attacks and shock him afterwards. He was a pretty big target, and I could just hide behind him, avoid getting damaged, and shock him to death for most of his attacks. And then I didn't use much Legion either, killing him. Romeo, however, demanded me to actually get good at his dodging times. My strategy for him was to constantly keep pressure. I stayed close, dodging mostly to the left to avoid his wide swings, and punish him with Fulminis whenever he finished the combo or used his spinning red attack. I did get hit by a few fury attacks since I couldn't dodge them. As long as I kept hitting him, Romeo never entered his raging fire sword combo. Also, after every attack that he did, he would stay there for like 2 seconds, run around, then come back, and in that time, I always got to shock him. Unless he constantly did red attacks, which I got at the end, sadly. At the end, he started to charge up his final attack, but I cancelled it out and I finished him off. From him, I got one of the best amulets in the whole game for the Legion arm runs. It's called the Triumvirate Amulet, and it makes it so all my Legion arms abilities get +1, which is actually pretty useful in this run. Then I head to the Grand Exhibition, cut off a metal puppet, I get majorly jump scared from another puppet. I get another Legion plug, and I get some quartz. And then I meet Victor. Victor resists electricity heavily, so 4 minutes was off the table. This fight belongs entirely to Flamberge. Victor hits hard, and his attacks are slow and wide, and very readable, and repetitive. The strategy was simple: wait out his combos, step in, apply fire, back off. Burn damage was really useful for this fight because it counteracted the boss's health regeneration, and because I can build up the fire even more if I use it while he's already burning. Halfway through the first phase, he falls down and injects himself with some serum. Then he changes a couple of attacks, but still keeping the same fighting style from the first phase. Just a couple more attacks to watch out for, and his occasional fury attacks. In his second phase, he was much more vulnerable to fire, and explosions did a lot of damage to him. That's why he went down so fast. Another good time to damage him was when he did his running at you attack. He does it 3 times, and then after that he stays there for a couple seconds and you can burn him. He did many of those kind of attacks that he charges up for a big attack, and then if you dodge it you can burn him for a while. At the end, he was actually one of the simpler bosses of them all. You could just dodge a lot of his attacks and get a lot of free hits on him. At the end I thought I was gonna die because of all of the red attacks, but then I just popped another Whishstone and then finished him off. After a while I burned him up, but then Laxasia stole my kill for Simon Manus. Not nice. After that I go to the Statue of Mercy, and on the way I meet the miniature version of Victor and I kill him too, and get a Legion caliber from him. After that I bought a Legion caliber and Quartz and used it to increase my consumable limit with the Legion catalyst. And then when I got back to the Grand Exhibition I ran into the Black Cat and the Red Fox again. They asked me for a gold coin fruit. Normally I'd give it to them, but this time those coins were one of my only ways to recover my legions, so I said no and moved on. Later in the swamp I found 2 puppets of the future and killed them both and got 2 quartz from them. While I was burning the owl dog to death, I tried to look cool by emoting while he was dying, but I failed and he still hit me. Still, he died and I got some ergo from him. And I did the emote after. The Penocio puppet who was trying to cosplay as me, and I couldn't have that, so I eliminated him too. The green monster of the swamp was one of the hardest bosses in this run because he has a huge health pool, fast movement, and relentless pressure. Also, in the very beginning of the fight, either he would do this underground attack, where he goes underground and then you can dodge it when he flies up from underground, and then you can get 4 seconds to make the fire prop and get an explosion. Or he would go into a fury running attack at me in the beginning of the boss, which as you know I can't dodge, but I can still get some hits on him after that. On my winning attempt, I got the underground attack, which was pretty good for me. And the key was to stay aggressive, circle around his attacks, burn him whenever there's an opening, and let burning counter his health recovery. The first phase wasn't too bad once I learned his movements, dodging around his combos and sneaking in fire damage whenever I could. The real problem was the damage per second, and that if I were to mess up, his attacks would hit me like a truck, and mistakes piled up fast. In the second phase, the monster gained fast charges, unpredictable jumps, and fury attacks I can't parry. However, he had many times where I could burn him while he tries to attack me but he can't. Like when he does the attack combo where he jumps into the air 5 times, I could actually burn him while he's in the air, while he's jumping, so when he lands I could use the explosion from Flamberge. For the rest of the fight, I just had to get good at the dodging times, because if I didn't get one of the dodging times right, he could combo me into a different attack and I would just die from that. I also learned that when he does his long running attack, after you dodge through all of them, you can just run to the right to avoid his last running fury attack, and you can just burn him and you can explode him if you can. In the rest of the phase, I just kept finding times where he finishes a long combo and then generously just sits there, letting me to burn him. By the end, he only had a sliver of his health left, and in desperation he started doing his long jumping attacks. As a result, I was just burning him in the air. When he finally fell down, I didn't have time to dodge it. I thought I was dead, but I actually survived it and finally finished him off. From him, I got his boss ergo, which I exchanged for the best amulets in the entire run, Ghost Walk Amulet, which allows me to finally dodge fury attacks. Right after, I started stacking resources again, picking up Quartz, fighting a big mutated lizard who I exploded into pieces, and got the Murderous Puppet's amulet. And then I found myself in the same place where I woke up in the beginning of the game, and I got a break cartridge. And then I ran into the same room that the police puppet was in the beginning of the game, but now, this time, the Robert Weasel was there. Right when I got into the room, I started the fire so she would get damaged and so I could explode her. And then while she was getting up, I could explode her again with the Flamberge. Then I tried to get the other little guys to get her attention and then burn her while she was distracted, but it didn't really work. A few more well-timed fire bursts and she would drop down quickly. And then I get another amulet, the Carrier's Amulet, and another suit. And then I find a wandering trader, and I buy another Legion caliber. For the Walker of Illusions, I expected this fight to be tough. Turns out, it was one of the cleaner fights in the run, using Flamberge. I just had to burn her a bit, dodge a couple of attacks, and then burn her again, and just repeat the cycle. This boss is similar to Romeo. If you keep pressure for him, he won't do his raging fire attack. For her, if you keep pressure, she won't spawn her clone, and you can non-stop burn her to death. By the end, I just burned her some more, and then I walked out of the Walker of Illusions arena. I won't lie, seeing the Parade Master again felt personal. Early in this run, he was absolute hell. So this fight had some history, but this time fire melted him. He barely lasted a minute. Even when he spawned his little guys, I could just burn them while I'm burning him because fire was so powerful here. He only had like 5 attacks, the grab attack, throw attack, and like 3 normal attacks, and the attack where he falls onto the ground and climbs towards you. This guy didn't even have a second phase like the first time, that's how easy he was. I burned him a bit more and down he went, for real this time. And then from him I got a Quartz. Before heading into the Rabbit Brotherhood 2, I headed into the DLC for just 10 minutes, quickly killing a big elephant mutant and getting a genius Legion plug. The Legion plugs for the DLC. And exchange it for the best Legion arm for BRB2. And then, also back at the hotel, I unlock in the PO game what might be the single most important upgrade of the entire challenge. Auto Recharge Legion. It's not instant, it feels slow at first, but over time Legion will come back as long as you stay alive. That single upgrade completely changes how the rest of the run plays out. This fight is where everything finally clicked. At the start, all 3 siblings are active, so I first get the Battle Maniac's health low. Then I see how much damage it does to the eccentric middle sibling. Then I try it on the younger sibling and got her half health. While I try to kill the siblings one by one, I also try to group them up together and use Cataclysm to blast them all at once, which sometimes gets annoying because all of them are damaging me all at once, but I do get the blast off. Then I get the Battle Maniac almost dead so I can finish him off at any moment. Then I run off and kill the eccentric, and now there are only 2. The only time the big brother comes out is when there's only 1 sibling left. So I kind of cheat that by keeping the last 2 siblings almost dead, so I can kill the Battle Maniac in 1 shot and the younger sibling in 1 big shot and another smaller one. Once all 3 dropped, the big brother entered, and meanwhile he comes out, I am charging up my arm so I can shoot him after. The best time to do an attack was when he charged up his blue wave, which you can actually dodge through, then wait for him to do the red attack and then charge up a shot and blast him. Another one is his long combo with his weapon that you can actually just run away from and then shoot him. The rest of the fight was pretty simple. You just had to run until he would do an attack and then shoot him afterwards because he would just stay where he stopped for a couple of seconds. Then I popped my last Whishstone and got 2 more shots, and on the last one he ended up so close to the death, but he still survived. Now it was all up to auto recharge to give me 1 last shot. Now I just had to run in circles until it was ready. It only took 1 minute really to get the last punch back, and once I had enough I turned right around and finished him off with 1 final explosion. For once the reward actually mattered, another Quartz. I went to Hermit's Cave near the Barren Swamp and got 2 more Quartz. And then I met the Door Guardian. People say this boss is impossible without a weapon, because the fight is supposed to go like you hit him with your weapon until he gets staggered because your weapon barely does any damage, and when you stagger him and then do the visceral, it does like half of his health. But they didn't take in consideration the Flamberge, because he's extremely weak to Flamberge. But for me, when he got staggered, I couldn't do the visceral, so I just stood there and burned him. I also got 6 explosions off of him when it was down on the ground. Flamberge knocked him down fast, and the fight was over almost as quick as a corrupted parade master. Then I got a Legion caliber. Next I meet the Black Cat, and I just run around in circles and burn him, and it was over before it even started. I get another Quartz from the spiky hallway. And then I meet Laxasia The Complete, easily one of the harder fights in the entire run. In the beginning of phase 1, either she would do an electric slam attack, like here, or the running at you attack of a follow-up slam attack. So for the first phase I had to break her shield, because then I could hit her from the back, dodge cleanly, which was easier than the second phase because she didn't teleport, and finally I had to always apply fire whenever I can, because when fire propped it could counter Laxasia's health regeneration. One of her attacks which you can easily dodge, then have to damage her, was when she did her grab attack with her sword, that she does 3 times and then she stands there for a couple of seconds, that you could damage her after. It was manageable but demanding. The second phase is much harder. In the beginning of the second phase, when she throws a lightning at you, if you get the dodging times off, then you can just burn her when she comes down. If you mess up one, then there's a chain reaction and you all get damage after. Normally you'd parry it back with a weapon and get damage off that, but I can't do that, so I had to resort to dodging. The hard part was that she was constantly throwing lightning at me that I had to dodge, and that she would frequently teleport and reappear all over the place. A time where I could spray a lot of fire on, prop burn, and maybe get an explosion was when she jumped up, threw 1 or 2 lightning bolts at me, and when she was falling down I already started to spray fire, so when it was ready I could just explode her. I also tried to keep her next to one of the walls so she couldn't do as many electric attacks and teleport as much. Another great time to burn her was when she was doing the running around and teleport attack, because you could just burn her while she was doing that. When she did the flying above attack, what I saw was that she only threw 2 lightning bolts if you dodged the first one, and when she was done throwing the lightning bolts I just started the fire so I could explode her when she falls back down. She also does another one after she was done the first flying attack, but this time it's always 1 lightning bolt, and I did the same fire thing when she was falling back down. When she finishes her fury of attacks, the throwing of the lightning bolts, the teleporting, and the running around me, she just restarts the cycle, and I already knew how to dodge all of them. She tried to charge up one last fury attack, but I was faster, and I killed her before she had the chance to strike. After Laxasia defeated, I went back to the hotel to exchange for boss Urgo for the impregnable fortress amulet, which again is only for weapons. Then I find another quartz, and after that I give the red fox the same flamethrower treatment as the black cat. And then I find a big disruption bodybuilder and blow him up to get another quartz from him. And I got 1 final Legion caliber. Before going into Simon Monis' fight, I got 1 final upgrade that lets me carry 2 Legion arms, which I can switch whenever I want in the fight. Going into the fight with Simon Monis, the final boss, I thought I would die a lot from him, and that he would not take any damage from fire. Surprisingly, fire absolutely destroyed him, and when fire propped, he took even more damage very fast. In the first 30 seconds, more than half of his health was already gone. Not only that he was weakened by fire, his attacks were super slow and predictable, and he spent a lot of time in between attacks just doing nothing. The only time in the first phase to watch out for was not to be knocked into the whirlpool that he makes with his hammer. For most of this phase I just ran to the right or dodged because all of his attacks were just really simple to dodge. Overall, the first phase was much easier than I expected it to be. At the start of the second phase, he comes back with a couple more magic attacks, small homing exploding bombs, sonar waves, and then halfway through the phase, he does a big Arm of God attack in the middle of the arena that if you get caught in it, then it one-shots you. Most of this fight was just running around in circles, waiting for him to do a sweep attack or a jumping fury attack so I could burn him after. His jumping fury attacks, which he does frequently, are very easy to avoid by just running ahead of it and then just burning him after. He also did wait a bit in between each attack, letting me to burn him, or he would be charging up an attack for me to dodge or run away from. When he charges up his Arm of God attack, I had to wait a bit to see where it will end up, and then I would just lure him away from there just to burn him somewhere else where the explosion wouldn't hit me. So yes, most of the fight was just running around, dodging his attacks and waiting for the right time for the right one, or to run away from his ranged attacks like his disruption bombs or the Arm of God attack. By the end, when he had a quarter or less of his health left, he disjointedly threw all of his attacks in desperation at me. I saw the Arm of God coming down, so I decided to run to the outskirts of the arena for him to follow me. He did one last jumping attack while he was burning, and I finished him off before his next Arm of God came down. For the first phase of the Nameless Puppet, I committed fully to Cataclysm. Cataclysm uses more Legion than Flamberge, but for this fight, it's absolutely worth it. The damage is higher, the burst is faster, and a Nameless Puppet gives you just enough time to make it work. His movements in phase 1 are actually readable. Repeated slash, shoulder bump slash, one clean slash, and then a jump up slash, and a simple 2 slash combo. Because of that rhythm, I could stay just far enough away to bait him, dodge once or twice, and immediately fire Cataclysm. He does throw a couple fury attacks, but even then, his recovery windows are long enough that I could just sneak in a charged shot. I end the phase with him jumping in the air and me shooting him out of the air. Phase 2 is where everything changes. His attacks become faster, more layered, and way less forgiving. He had long multi-slash strings with delayed follow-ups, rapid charge attacks, a stab combo of spinning aerial slashes, and that grab attack that can one-shot you. My strategy here was to dodge first, wait for the slam or recovery, and fire Cataclysm only when I knew it was safe. One of his punishable moves is when he launches into the air, spins and slams down. I dodged that cleanly, charged up the arm, and fired the moment he landed. I did bring the Ghost Walk Amulet because he does a lot of fury attacks in this fight. The real key for Nameless was to constantly stay aggressive and constantly hit him, or else he would hit me. Another good punishable window was when he did the Fury Dash attack at me, because he also sits there a bit after that and I could just shoot him. After using all of my catalysts, I used the Whishstones now, and I shot him again after he did the falling down attack. Nearing the end, he was 2 shot. I charged up a shot, I shot him on a perfect timing. Now it came down to pure tension. He was 1 shot from death. I was charging up catalyst, he was winding up his instant kill grab attack. No hesitation, I released 2 quick shots back to back, and just like that, the Nameless Puppet fell. And that's it. Liza P beaten start to finish using only Legion arms. No weapons, no throwables, no Spectres. Just problem solving, dodging, timing, and a ridiculous amount of explosions. I really enjoyed how this run pushed every system in the game to its limit. Legion management, P-organ upgrades, boss knowledge, all of it. Some fights were clean, some were pure panic, but every boss fell the same way, 1 arm punch at a time. If you would want to do a challenge like this, be prepared for a lot of grinding and hours in the beginning and the first bosses, and a lot of problem solving and timing until you perfect the moves and your own perfect techniques. If you enjoyed this video and challenge, consider subscribing, and if you have any other ideas for any other challenge runs in Liza P or some other games, feel free to comment on this video. Thanks for watching and happy gaming.